welcome to the Common Briefing Program. We claim to be a monthly podcast, but this month, that's a lie. Or is it? We're just late, whatever. We try to have conversations once a month in which we recap the hottest headlines from Geek News and try to make sure that if you're going to find yourself in a... What are you snickering at already? What happened?
Your video froze for me when you went, hi! So it's just a picture of you like this.
Okay, excellent. I'm sad that your video is the one that's been captured.
Yeah.
So every month, the three of us like to get together and talk about what we think are the most interesting or impactful headlines in geek news. Last month was a bit of a snoozer, and the beginning of this month was extremely... That screenshot's excellent. The
Oh, you said it. Nice.
yeah, I see it. That's very good. But for the month of April and now the first couple weeks of May, I actually have things to talk about. And I think you guys actually have things to talk about. And that makes me a little excited. Every once in a while, Jeff will be like, when are we going to record? And I'm like, but nothing happened. Not so today, my friends. It's been a busy few weeks in the geekosphere. I myself have a few stories, and my name is Colin Ketchen. I'm not on coke right now, but I do lead these geeky affairs, and you can talk to my friends here. What are your names, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves?
My name is Jeff, and Colin saying that he's not on coke only makes me think that he is.
That's going to be the fun mystery
I'm
of
on
this
Pepsi. Anyways,
my high is totally
I'm
gone.
Primal. Yes, one pun, and it all went down. Hi, I'm Timel, or Chowder, whichever you prefer.
Do you think that we could find like the joke equivalent of Narcan? Anyway, so
It's going to be something out of Chowder's mouth, I'll tell you that.
Okay, opioid epidemics are fun. So what we're going to do is just kind of go around the table here and have a chat about, like I said, the stories that we think are the most interesting. I tend to kick these things off, and I would like to do that. But first, a vibe check. How's everyone doing? We don't talk as often as I would like, just because we're adults, and that's how adulting is these days. How you guys doing? What's your day look like?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I don't have really anything interesting to report. I'll tell you that.
So,
So that's my vibe.
Ambivalence.
Boring.
Yeah. Chowder, how you doing, bud?
Well, for the most part, good. You know, aside from hitting every red light earlier, but Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. It's keeping me going right now.
I imagine you're gonna. I have a little bit to say on it, but I'm gonna leave the bulk of it to you. I haven't spoken to you in preparation for this at all because, and Jeff can attest to this, we got on the horn earlier and I was going through the list of things I want to talk about. I didn't read the list to him, but I said, no, Chowder's probably going to take care of Zelda. So it's fine. Well, fun story about that is, I bought Zelda the day it came out, but I got a physical copy. I have not bought a physical game since 2015. And
How did you do that?
The reason I did that is because my partner, Rebecca, she has been having a tough time taking all these big tests. It's been very stressful. And I was like, she had a big test on May 12th. One of her most precious childhood memories is beating the original Legend of Zelda on the NES. A game that when she got it did not come with the manual. And she is very proud of beating that inscrutable, impossible game without the manual as a child. And she loved Breath of the Wild.
Like NES games.
I'm watching Chowder's eyes like what?
No, like NES games and especially Legend of Zelda, the OG one, were just built with the idea that you had like Nintendo power or something.
Yeah, exactly. Chowder, did you ever play a game called Tunic? Because if you haven't, let me know when you're done with Tears of the Kingdom, and Tunic will consume your soul.
Oh, I heard good things. I definitely want to play that game at some point.
You play as it's a very Zelda take on roguelikes, or like Souls-likes. Sorry, you play as a cute fox, already a winner, a cute fox dressed like Link, and the core conceit of the game that this is what the game tells you is the core conceit right off the rip, is you walk forward and you collect a page from the game manual, and it's like it's like not in English. It's supposed to emulate the feeling of getting like an imported Japanese video game, but the first page you get is like page 35, and you need to build the manual as you go along, and it teaches you more stuff about the game. And if the combat doesn't,
cute.
And if
that is a cute concept for a game.
It is a cute concept, and it unfolds. I'm not kidding. Tunic is top 3 like gaming experiences for me in terms of like astonishment, a breathtaking achievement. Yeah. But Tears of the Kingdom is the breathtaking achievement we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny that you call Tunic like a Zelda take on like a Souls-like, because
yeah,
you know because when Dark Souls was getting popular, Zelda fans and other people, but Zelda fans especially were like,
"Yep,
oh, this is like a dark and edgy Legend of Zelda." Mm-hmm. The game feel and like the level design has
it's
Legend of Zelda.
It's something I actually get into with Rebecca quite a bit, actually. So I ended up getting the game on physical to surprise her because I didn't want it locked to my account. I want to make sure she could play it, do whatever she want with it. But so I have not played that much because I beat the tutorial area, and she has had it ever since. So I'll get it back someday. But the Zelda and Metroid both came out in the same year. I've always been much more of a Metroid fan than a Zelda fan. Zelda's really hit and miss for me. There are a lot of Zelda games I straight up don't enjoy. And the interesting thing is they are fundamentally extraordinarily similar. I tried to explain the concept of a Metroidvania to Rebecca, and she was like, "That's a Zelda game." And I was like, yes, yeah, it is. It is very and now I think
the only
Souls
real
games
difference
are more
between the two is one's a side
Metroidvanias.
scroller and the other's. Yeah, exactly.
But now in a world where Metroid Prime is considered like the best Metroid game, like it is no longer the distinction of side scroller, the structure of Metroidvania. I've found that Zelda, the games that succeed for me personally, are the ones that execute on that formula. And I think Tunic is a game that brings the Ouroboros back to its fucking beginning and like ties all those ideas together perfectly. So you would love it. It's very much in the spirit of I think, some of the best Zelda games. But with that conversation wrapping up, because I could talk about all these games forever, let's dive into some geek news. And I'm going to start with something that is not going to be surprising. Star Trek. I just want to kind of get this out. I just want to get this out of the way. There's no conspiracy stuff. There's no state of the industry stuff. Nothing super big being unpacked. Star Trek Picard is over. It's done. He's fucking dead. No, he's not. They killed him in the first season. Then he came back. But Star Trek Picard was the whole it's brief history on Next Gen. It had a great series finale that everyone loved. And then they made a bunch of movies that got like worse and worse and worse as they went on. And it didn't super feel like the show. And the last one was so bad and made so little money that they were just like, I guess we're done with these characters. So there's always been a sour taste in like... And the show was going to go on for more seasons until they were like, nope, we're going to make Voyager, and now you guys do the movies. And then the movies weren't great. So it's just everyone had a bad taste in their mouth, and then Picard was like, oh, man, we're going to get to see a happy ending for these characters. And they're like, no, Picard is angry and old. And I'm like, I'm fine with that as a story direction. But I would like the show to be a...
You want him to be happy?
No, he's an old traumatized man. And like I think the first 2 seasons, while there is stuff in them I really enjoy, and I think the first season in particular had mostly strong stuff until it fumbled the ending, widely regarded as a messy show at best. And there are parts of the show that people, it's like, I think you can have fun watching it, but I don't think you come away from it going like, I want more of that. That was certainly never my...
That was really good.
Yeah.
No.
I can always say I had...
like, you might have enjoyed it, but it wasn't good.
Yes, and that's my thing. It's like, I don't think it ever really hit its potential. It's sort of like been like... just the story of the show, and then season 3 hit, and I was immediately cynical because they were like, it's fuck it, last season, next gen reunion, we're doing it. I think a lot of the mess of season 2 came from a lot of the rumors have to do with like COVID fucked it all up, but also I think it was the showrunner for the 3rd season that came in basically pitched the idea, and then in order to get all those old new characters out of the way to bring back the old characters, had to rewrite a bunch of season 2. Because I think the beginning of season 2, that first episode, I was like, this is great. And by the last episode, I'm confused. And that's just kind of
I fell off in the middle of of season 2.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I got to a point where I'm just like, I guess that I do have another episode or 2 of that, and I'm like, I just don't.
You can no. It will. Season 3 largely says, fuck that. We will honor it and respect narratively what happened, but we are doing this differently. The production of season 3, I initially had me worried because I'm like, anytime you just chase nostalgia, that's a red flag for me because it usually speaks to a lack of substance. If you are relying on nostalgia to be the thing that drives you. Picard season 3, I really, really think has it all, and I'm not alone. Universally critically acclaimed, 90 fucking something Rotten Tomatoes, some of the highest rated Star Trek stuff. Actually, someone pointed out that the delta from season 2's IMDb user rating to season 3 is maybe the biggest delta for any TV series ever.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
The turnaround was so vast, and it is simultaneously so good at roping in the nostalgia bait and actually tells a Star Trek story that I was like, I like this in a vacuum. And halfway through the season airing, the people making the show were like, the showrunner was like, oh yeah, if I were to make a spinoff of this show, I would call it the hashtag Star Trek Legacy. So now everybody behind the show is campaigning for and like, so the whole time I'm like cynical watching it, like they're going to set this up for a spinoff. Blah, blah, blah. And at the end, they set it up for a spinoff. I'm like, fuck, I would watch it. Like, not just like it's Star Trek, so I'd watch it. I'm like, they did a good job. They did a backdoor pilot that worked for me. And I was like guarded against that idea. So, Picard season 3. If you fell off in Picard season 2, don't finish it. You could just watch the last season. It's 10 episodes. It's very good. It's very fun. It's got the nostalgia bait for the people that love it, and it's got a good story for the people that don't.
There's really something about those early, the first 2 seasons where like this whole dynamic. I feel like if you're making a story that is like about a character from a previous show, then there's something about the fact that like I just don't give a fuck about any of the new characters. Like inherently, like I would have given a fuck about them if everyone was new, but it's like Picard and then like fucking 7 of 9 and then all these other characters. I'm like, I didn't even watch the original shows, but I know who to give a shit about in these stories, and it's not the new people.
Yeah, it's tangible. You know? And the thing is, who
the fuck are you?
The one fucking guy of the new cast, like I enjoyed all the new characters fine, but like the one that I was like, I like this character. This guy is lightning in a bottle. Was Rios. I thought he was a great performer and an energy I wasn't used to seeing in Star Trek, and he was one of the guys that they wrote out in season 2 to make room for the reunion. Yeah. So I came into season 3 bitter. I'm like, not only did you fumble the ball, but you wasted the parts of it that were good. And I was just like, I don't know how you come back from that and earn my trust. And by the end of the I watched the last episode, and I was like, as an episode of TV, I'm very content with that. I think it was good. The fact that I have these positive feelings on all the shit I was angry about is a miracle. It's impressive. I was surprised. But moving on from that, Activision has been in the process of being acquired by Microsoft for quite some time. Until last month, the EU said, no, I don't like that. And if you've been following any of the legal battle here, the problem is Microsoft is one of the world's largest companies. Activision is a very large gaming and entertainment company. And when you put all the biggest companies together, you get a monopoly, which is terrible and not fun.
Good.
So
it's a bad thing.
What a lot of people latched onto immediately was Game Pass, and specifically Call of Duty. If you look at all the shit that Sony has been filing, a lot of their briefs have specifically been making points saying like, well, if Microsoft uses their position to get Call of Duty exclusivity, it will hurt our sales on our platforms. And then you can look at all the history of Sony purchasing Call of Duty exclusivity on their platforms. And Microsoft says, but Call of Duty, you can't even guarantee that this will be a successful franchise. And then you look at every time that Call of Duty was the biggest entertainment launch in the history of the world. And it's just like a bunch of bad faith arguments around Call of Duty distribution.
Warzone prints money, man.
Mm-hmm. And everyone hates it. It's not true. But like
exactly.
You talk like, I don't know, like you talk to people that play Destiny like myself, you get a lot of people that are like, oh, it's good, but it could be really frustrating. But I feel like the discourse around Warzone has consistently been, I fucking hate this. And then they keep playing it. I'm not in that community, so I cannot speak for them. It's a massive community. I'm sure some of you guys probably really like it. But that was what everyone was latching onto. And when the EU announced that they were prepared to block this merger, we thought it would be something like that. But the answer to what is going to cause this deal to collapse is cloud gaming. Was the idea that Microsoft has a cloud gaming component to Game Pass, meaning you can have a game run on one of Microsoft's servers and you play it remotely on your phone. I have used this service. It is very nice for the sake of convenience, but cloud gaming has never matched the performance or fidelity of just running something locally. We're not there yet. See Stadia. Google built Stadia, an entire platform that lasted for years, and it cost them so much money that as an economic downturn began, they not only shut down the service, but because of its business model, had to refund every single bit of money spent on the platform the entire time.
Yeah, but one could easily make the argument Google just fucked that one up because they were in a situation where... Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because they were in a situation where Stadia could have been successful. Mm-hmm. You know, COVID, everyone looking for entertainment.
I think that's
console shortage on consoles.
I think that's kind of the point. Is that regardless of what Google, I don't think that this is purely an issue of like, oh, Google could have just fixed Stadia. Like there are technological limitations. They would have had to come up with like. They were working on forms of like frame interpolation that would have allowed a game to essentially guess at rendering the next frame before it receives the input from the stream source, because the biggest issue is usually latency. It takes time for you to push a button, send it to Google, and have it come back, so the game feels sluggish. I've never had an experience that didn't have that. Yeah,
the closest I've been to cloud gaming so far is like Nintendo's like shitty service where it's like you have all these retro games a la carte, and like I try to play them, but I can't because it's like
it's a bad
the timing's off. The timing's off. I am really fucking good at Super Mario World, but when I try to play it on that Switch.
It is fundamentally not at the level that most gamers are used to. I think it could satisfy a casual audience.
Yeah.
It does a lot in terms of accessibility for people that maybe don't want to put down money for hardware. I think there's a lot of value to cloud gaming, and without Stadia there as competition, the EU basically said, you don't have anybody else in this space putting up a big cloud gaming effort. And if you acquire the biggest games publisher in the world... or one of the biggest games publishers ever, and just add it to your fucking Rolodex, nobody else stands a chance. And I find that kind of out of touch and specious with the state of gaming as it is. It's just kind of like, really? Cloud game? That's the thing that nobody likes? That's what you're worried about? You sure? But
I mean, whatever fucking bullet they find to take it down, I guess.
Mm-hmm. The thing that has flipped this, and this is May 15th is the day that we're having this conversation, literally hours ago, the European Commission has required Microsoft to license popular Activision Blizzard games automatically to competing cloud gaming services. This will apply globally and will empower millions of consumers worldwide to play these games on any device they choose. So essentially, it is just a hard stop to say, like, you can do this, but you cannot use the leverage you have as a monopoly from this acquisition to inflate the value of this service. And
Can't they just like make it a pain to license them?
Yeah, it does not seem like it seems like not the best solution for what is not actually the problem, but it does.
Right, yeah.
The fact that Microsoft is willing to pay $70 billion and then license that shit for free. I don't know. Yeah. Let me see. It appears that you requested Microsoft offer this automatic license. This is, I don't believe Microsoft has commented on this, but this is, let me actually take a look here. Has spent the past few months. Microsoft's appeal in the UK. Yeah, so they're appealing some of the decisions. So Microsoft has not agreed to this that I am aware of yet, because this is still developing. But if that sort of speaks to the strangeness of the situation and the solution, not only that we're in this weird position, but if Microsoft accepts it, then like, where are they looking to get the value from? The answer is Game Pass subs and console sales, but like, it puts a spotlight on cloud gaming that I don't think would be there otherwise. It's huge, it's interesting, it is bizarre, but that's what's going on there. So there's movement on that. The EU was the group that seemed most likely to kill this because they are much more okay with regulating tech than the United States is. So we'll see how that goes. Last thing I wanted to chat about, unless you guys have more to say on cloud gaming, is another gaming issue that's been front of people's minds lately, and that is video game performance. I want to talk about 3 specific examples recently, all of which have been fairly high profile. First is a game called Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This is a sequel to 2019's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This game came out right around the same time as The Mandalorian, and I was like, oh man, I might be really interested in Star Wars. And then The Rise of Skywalker happened, and I gave up. But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a fantastic video game, and Jedi Survivor, so far, is a fantastic sequel. If it can run.
Is this the one with Cameron Moynihan? Is that
from Shameless? The ginger, yes, yeah. He's the main Jedi. He plays Cal Kestis. The game itself is great. I find the combat a little clunky, even though I don't like the Dark Souls games. Like, it does not feel quite as precise, but generally speaking, the Uncharted style exploration, the amount of movement and flexibility you have. A lot of people love the customization, even though that's not really my bag for this. I've sunk a few hours into the game. It's excellent. Reviews of the gameplay are excellent, but there are problems with it running, particularly on PC. I'm playing it on Xbox Series X, which is a very powerful console. This game was made in Unreal Engine 4. Engine 5 is out, but, it's pretty recent. The game dev on this started, 3-4 years ago? So they started in what they had at the time. But it's... even on Xbox Series X, it cannot hold 60 frames per second steadily. The spaces are huge, so I get that. But even then, if you look at Digital Foundry's breakdown of it, it's actually rendering somewhere around 720p. Which is, for example, what Halo 4...
not great for
Halo 4 was rendering in 720p.
Big budget game.
Yeah, on the Xbox 360 in 2012, a console that had 512 megabytes of RAM. And it turns out these are primarily optimization issues with how they are using Unreal Engine 4, an engine that was not originally designed for open world games. And when you take it to PC, it's apparently even worse, to the point where it's not even leveraging GPUs. So people are out here, paying crazy aftermarket prices for GPUs before they get back in stock. And then you have a game that is straight up not using them, and it's using like two threads on your CPU. And so people are investing in these rigs to play games, but nobody's building the games to run on those rigs anymore. And so you have this AAA game that costs $60-$70. You play it on your $3,000 machine, and like, I'm getting hiccups and stutters and like artifacting and blurry edges and stuff that's like, it's annoying, but it's not breaking the game. But on PC, it apparently does break the game.
Yikes.
Another example of this is Redfall.
That's not what you want.
No, not at all. Redfall is the latest effort by Arcane Austin, I believe, the studio that put out Prey. They're part of Bethesda, part of Microsoft's big acquisition. This and Starfield are like their two big tentpole games, and we were like, it's gonna be like Far Cry meets Left 4 Dead, but with a Dishonored twist to it. And then the game came out and is awful. Every review I've seen on it is basically spotlighting this is the worst game I've played in years. Microsoft should have killed this as soon as they saw it in development. But even,
like here's the thing about me and Redfall. I only ever hear the name, like that it's bad. I've never seen any gameplay. I've never seen nothing. Just like one day, people just start talking about Redfall sucking. I'm like,
it's like this shit sucks.
So I was looking.
That's the only relevant thing about it.
As someone with Game Pass, I was like, I fucking love Arcane. I love Arcane Austin specifically, and it looked kind of fun. It was like imagine Far Cry, but vampires. Squad gameplay, magical powers. You got an island full of vampires. You got to kill them all. I'm like, that kind of sounds like schlocky fun. And apparently it's not.
That's a formula for a good time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, at the end of the day, Far Cry games for me are stale. But if you get in there with a bunch of people, you're just fucking running around blowing up buildings and setting acres of farm on fire and then flying away in a plane and crashing into a goddamn statue on a mountain and falling to your death. It's goofy. It's fun. Like, Grand Theft Auto Online has been doing this for a decade now. That. Right. And it's like, it apparently missed the mark on every level. But on top of that, it is another Unreal Engine 4 game that has a world that is failing to render, low quality textures, takes like 10-15 seconds for assets to load in on high speed NVMe solid state drives that can load shit in a fraction of a second. Shadows that don't render properly.
Was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet made in Unreal?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing is Pokemon Violet and Scarlet was another example of this, and you can't blame Unreal Engine for it because it's Game Freak's in-house shit. It's their in-house stuff. So it's like, and again, and have there been any fixes for it since it came out? Not that I'm aware of.
Not really, no.
And then you get
could have been.
And then you get to Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which, I mean, sequel to the highest rated video game of all time, and a lot of pre-released footage is coming in at like a choppy 20-25 frames a second. And then they put out a day one patch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
it should be noted that, like, I think a lot of people were reporting like it's more of a problem with like really early switches, like the day one, like ones you get on day one.
Well, a big problem with the Switch is that it's still, I don't remember exactly what, it's running an old NVIDIA chip from literally 10 years ago. It is not a powerful console. It's less powerful than the Xbox One or the PS4, like base version. So
definitely.
After Pokemon Scarlet and in the midst of all these other things, there's obviously concern about how it's going to run. And Chatter, I'm going to let you talk about the game itself, but in terms of performance, it's concerning that we're seeing all these big games come out undercooked. And even with Zelda, the day one patch goes a long way. By and large, it runs pretty well. When I get into areas with a lot of foliage, or particularly when you're using abilities that cause things to light up or collide with each other, it chokes and the frame rate drops quite a bit. But it is still largely, but it's like what I'm experiencing with Jedi Fallen Survivor. Like, it's annoying, but it's not breaking the game for me.
Yeah, like me, I haven't really run into it too much. I have run into it, but like, instances are like 3 in Tears of the Kingdom compared to, say, Scarlet and Violet, where I don't have enough fingers to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the thing. Like, Zelda
I fell off the map in Scarlet and Violet.
that shit drives me nuts, especially in games that don't have adequate save functionality. But
I mean, I think like there's 2 big things causing all this. The first one is just games are getting too expensive, and graphics are too high level, too HD, man, and the cost, manpower, and what labor are that's the same as manpower. But it can't keep up.
That, I think, is really the bigger issue, because you have a lot of studios using things like Unreal and more smaller games will use, Unity, things that are very cheap to operate in. But then you don't really have the technical knowledge to go in and make it run properly. Yeah. Because if you look at the assets, the 2 HD man of Jedi Fallen Survivor, it can run better, but it doesn't. And again, Digital Foundry's breakdown was very illuminating because they're like, hey, I have a 16-core CPU here that can handle all these threads for what it's happening. It's using 2 of them. It is an asset management thing where we do have the technology to make this stuff run better. And Zelda is kind of a miracle to me because, again, it looks, for the most part, pretty good. I think particularly in the Sky Islands where there's a lot of, like, yellow foliage, the shadows don't look great to me. The edges don't look great to me. Once I get inside, once I get to down into Hyrule, it looks a lot cleaner. But that's something where, like, you have hardware that can't handle this stuff and you're making it work, and it's enormous.
Yeah.
And then you have these other games, which is like you have the hardware and you're not utilizing it.
Yeah, and I think that brings us to problem number 2, why Tears of the Kingdom is handling it better than any of the other games is just time. Devs are just given less and less time to make the games. Tears of the Kingdom got to have 6 years. Yeah. And gets to build off Breath of the Wild. So
that the amount of copy paste from Breath of the Wild, graphics are like art direction. I'm not speaking to that. I'm not speaking to the assets, but like the fundamental graphics of this game are identical. There are a lot of similar, if not identical, assets, mechanics, identical. Like they literally just said, "All right, cool, we have this. Keep building." I'm just like, honestly, that's one way to do it.
You liked it the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not bad. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
It works to their benefit.
Yep. So it's,
and and when Tears of the Kingdom does hiccup, you almost can like kind of excuse it because like, that and like one of the coolest things you can do is just like go from the Sky Islands and like dive down into Hyrule, and
I cannot understand
and it does
how
that
they
seamlessly.
The way that I understand, like, the whole magic trick of making 3D games work in general is figuring out how to render level of detail properly for things at different distances. The amount of shit you can clearly identify while falling without... And I'm not experiencing frame drops while I'm falling. It's astonishing. I can't... It's something I've never experienced in a video game before. It is truly novel to me. No Man's Sky fans are going to yell at me for that. Sorry, I only played No Man's Sky like twice. But it is really impressive that Zelda runs as well as it does when on all other fronts we're kind of seeing an epidemic in games of performance issues when we have the best hardware we've ever had.
It's like they're prioritizing making sure that things look good for advertisements in terms of like actually instead of actually functioning.
Yeah.
So it's just like, who gives a shit as long as you buy it.
Exactly. And I mean, previous examples of this, like Cyberpunk 2077, when it released on PC, ran fine. Last-gen consoles could not handle it. And it was a thing where, like, they had delayed the game so many times that eventually you have an obligation to your shareholders to crank something out to the market. And it's like Chatter said, sometimes you just need 6 years. With Starfield, it's been fucking 10. And it might still be coming in pretty hot. Bethesda games launch infamously buggy, so who knows? But it's been a weird year so far for games, and Zelda seems kind of like this strange exception. And we'll have to see where it goes. I think Starfield is the next big test of, like, if this game comes out and nobody can play it because it's busted, like... It doesn't matter your size. It doesn't matter what the lineage is for what you're doing. Now, nothing can run unless it's made by an indie dev.
Which is not great. No. Which is not great.
Yeah. But speaking of which, give me Silksong. Anyway, who's next?
I can be next.
Yeah.
I've got a few things. I've got a couple Transformers things. We did in April. Is that the month we're talking about? Yeah, April. Yeah. That's what comes before May. We got another trailer for Rise of the Beasts, which comes out in June, I believe. And, we've been getting a lot of different trailers. So normally I wouldn't mention it, but this trailer did reveal that the big bad of the movie is they are doing a live action Unicron, which is pretty cool. And honestly, did we see him in his planet mode and it looks pretty good.
Right.
I mean, it's just Unicron fucking... like in The Last Night. No, that wasn't Unicron.
Notionally, Unicron was in The Last Night. I mean, like Unicron was hinted at in the Last Night, as in this is what the villain of the sequel or to the next movie is going to be, and then there wasn't a next movie.
Yeah.
In that,
it was very Star Trek Nemesis, where they were like, "This went over so bad, we're just kind of done. Let's do something different."
Yeah. So it's just like, Unicron is kind of an undertone in that movie, and then he's like hinted at the very end, but. I would say that this, because like Unicron at the end of fucking The Last Night is like revealed to be the Earth, right? And I would say that notionally Unicron showing up in the 90s in Rise of the Beast should solidify that the Bumblebee movie and this one are in a different canon.
That's what I was going to ask.
It's kind of I guess, because also like all of the Michael Bay movies have like wild inconsistencies with each other too, so I don't know if anything really proves anything.
Yeah.
Because this one also, like from a lot of the advertisements, it's like it's clearly feels like it's trying to bridge a gap between Bumblebee and the Michael Bay movies, because we see Optimus Prime like without his faceplate on, and his faceplate without the faceplate, he has got the same face as the Michael Bay Optimus Prime. Which I think is just a really bad move stylistically, because like it's just like, oh, we see him in Bumblebee talking with the faceplate, and then it just like takes the faceplate off. Oops, his fucking mouth is on his chin. That just does not look right. Like doesn't even look as good as it did in the original movies.
With awkward like lips. Like
it's just
Optimus Prime don't need lips.
There are so many things about this movie that I'm excited about, like fucking Beast Wars characters and, like the Unicron stuff. And then there's so much that feels like fucking a step back from Bumblebee, where it's just like, oh, you know how like when everyone went to go see Bumblebee, like everyone was fucking like shitting their pants about the goddamn like Cybertron scene with all of these like really Generation 1 accurate like Autobots running around, and now it's just like, oh yeah, now some of those characters show up in this one and they look nothing like they did in that scene. It's just like, why are we doing that? Like, I thought we were done with the tradition of just like stapling fucking like random names onto completely new characters. Like, do you know how many fucking Transformers there are, even in just like the original cartoon, that you can like any fucking archetype of a character that you could possibly want, there's something there. So just like, why not just make it an adaptation of the Transformers instead of being like, oh yeah, Transformers. Yeah. Anyway, here's all these new guys because I didn't feel like doing any homework.
Given how strangely toxic the Transformers name has become, and how in the face of that toxicity, Bumblebee had some good press. I'm speaking specifically in the movie space. I'm not talking about anything else. But like that Bumblebee did well financially, critically, and with audiences. In the face of that, it does seem strange to me that there would be an overt effort to try to move the Bumblebee needle closer to the 2007 movie.
Yeah,
I mean the fact that they seem to be making an egregious conflict with the Unicron thing maybe is hopefully. Again, me watching the Picard Season 3 trailers, I'm like, I don't really like what they're doing here. And then I watched it, I was like, oh no, they did it better than I expected. Like,
just like logically, right? Like, why would the Transformers be a surprise to anybody in 2007 if a giant planet-eating Transformer showed up in fucking 94?
Correct.
Right? So it's like, it does seem like it should be different, but then there's so many like little weird stylistic things that are moving towards the Michael Bay movies that it feels like, why are we still trying to bridge this gap instead of it's very strange. But I don't know, with those movies, it's just like, well, I guess if it is good in and of itself, then that'll be what it is. But
sure.
Yeah, so I don't know how to feel about that yet. It could be really good. It could be really bad. It could be bad for, other reasons, but we'll fucking see. But it was cool to see that Unicron is a thing in it. And still, I don't like a lot of the designs of the fucking Beast Wars characters that are showing up in there. And they feel very like, let's just like remove all the color from them, like a lot of the Michael Bay movies were, but which is unnecessary. But we'll see how it do. So yeah, that was one bit of Transformers news. Other Transformers news, we got the official reveal. We had this kind of like rumor floating around for a while that there was going to be an animated Transformers movie, and we actually got the official title for that and some of the voice cast. And that is going to be, I fucking hate this title because it makes fucking shorthand referring to the Transformers movies really annoying. This movie is called Transformers 1. Like
Battlefield did that too. Battlefield did that too, because like the original Battlefield game was like Battlefield 20 or like 1942 or something like that, and then they went Battlefield blah 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 blah, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1 because we're doing World War 1. Now we're at Battlefield 5 and we're doing World War 2 again, and I'm just like, stop. Stop.
I'm just like,
and then
why
they
did you?
And then.
Of course, Xbox also did that shit too.
That. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
because it's like
the
2007 movie
is
the 2007 movie is the only one that doesn't have like a subtitle, right? So it's like people refer to it as Transformers 1,
or Star Trek 09, Sonic 06, let's Transformers 07. Like, that's fine. But like it's one of those things where like saying some
people with the Xbox too, because you got Xbox, makes sense. Xbox 360. Odd name, but okay, I can see that as an upgrade of Xbox. Xbox One.
That's
that's just gonna get confusing. And then Xbox One X. Why? What are you doing? Xbox One X Series X. No, motherfucker.
Okay, that's just Series, and then it's Series. The Series is confusing, but I think primarily because the one nomenclature was fucking awful. There's something about the number one. And going back to it, where like I feel like anybody in a marketing room is like, wait, they never used the number one before. It's so clean. It's so fresh. It sounds like a new beginning.
Criticism.
And then
what happens? Criticism you can make of Sony, they keep that shit consistent.
Exactly. Yeah. Because like
exactly.
At the end of the day, you can it can sound as cool and as fresh as you want. But what's gonna happen is someone's gonna be at home and be like, is this what I want to buy for my kids? What the fuck?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what this means. That happens. Let's not leave out the greatest offender of this. The new Nintendo 3DS XL. 2DS XL. The new one. That to me is still like, we use bad, but the new Nintendo 2DS XL is the worst. Takes the cake. Anyway, yes. Anyway, that was a fun tangent that meant nothing, but we're all angry.
Yep. So that was one thing about this movie. Also, there were a bunch of headlines that were introducing it as the first animated Transformers movie, and a lot of people were like, fucking, this is 1986 erasure, because it's just like literally in the same month that we reveal that Unicron is going to be in fucking Rise of the Beast, they're like, it's the first animated Transformers movie, and we're like, hey, motherfucker, where do you think Unicron came from?
Yeah.
Came from the actual first animated Transformers
The only one
movie.
that we don't have to call Transformers 86, because it's called Transformers the movie.
Yeah. Which, to be totally fair, I do think that most of the headlines have really called it Paramount's first animated Transformers movie, which is true.
That's fair.
Because, but still, it's just like, it's kind of like a,
but
cheeky
even
kind of like
even that's
thing.
Some bullshit. Yeah. Just because there was some flipping with back then, it was like Viacom, and then it became Viacom, and then they split so that Viacom was Paramount, but Paramount had more brand recognition, and then they got back together with CBS after they split. So it's the same company, it's just they shuffled it up like a Rubik's Cube. And so, sure, why the fuck not?
It's like, so but then the voice cast that was revealed, we got our 6 main characters here, and some interesting choices. So this movie is going to be set on Cybertron entirely, and it's going to be like an origin story for like Optimus Prime, and our young Optimus Prime is being played by Chris Hemsworth, And we've got Brian Tyree Henry playing Megatron. I think he's the guy. Is he?
Oh, I know
Bullet
who
Train?
he is. Yeah, he's in Bullet Train. He Atlanta, Eternals. He's all over the place. He's great.
Oh yeah, he's in Eternals. That's right. Yeah, he's.
Who do you play in Eternals?
I do not remember his name.
He plays the inventor guy.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hephaestus, I think.
Is that who it was?
No.
Yeah, the one, the gay man who was trying to protect his family, but then was like, I caused a Hiroshima. Oopsie doodles.
Yeah.
No. He caused Hiroshima, and then he started a family, and it's like.
Yep, I saw it once. My bad.
And we've got Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1. Well, they've just listed as Alita here, but her name is Alita 1, or at least I hope it is, because that's the name of the character.
They never did Alita 1 before. They did Alita 2, and then Alita 3, and now they're going back.
They had to make her not Alita 1 so that you didn't think that the movie was about her.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So don't worry. She's going to have a whole arc.
But why is it important that she's called Alita 1 and not Alita? Like,
that's
seems like
the character's name. That's just what the character's name is. I don't know. It'd be like that the original character from the cartoon is named Alita 1. It's a stupid name, but that's her name.
Maybe they'll give her an origin story, or maybe this is its own Splinter universe. I don't fucking know.
Well, see, this is it's not set in the original universe, but this is interesting because the actual origin story for Optimus Prime, I'm curious if they're just like for simplicity's sake saying that Chris Hemsworth is playing a young Optimus Prime, because young Optimus Prime has a different name. Like, he's supposed to be a dude named Orion Pax, and it's like it's stupid,
sure,
but
okay.
It's a whole fucking thing. It is like then he becomes Optimus Prime. So I'm wondering if the movie is about Orion Pax, or if they're just like doing away with that and just having it be a young Optimus Prime, because like Prime is like a title that he gets,
that
at least in most continuities. So we'll see. We've got Scarlett Johansson playing Alita 1. I just said that. We've got Keegan-Michael Key playing Bumblebee, which I'm skeptical about, because I feel like Bumblebee is supposed to be a little young boy, so I sort of feel like.
Have you heard Keegan-Michael Key? He's
whatever.
His, in terms of vocal register, he's up there.
No, I mean he shouldn't be in the movie because he shouldn't exist yet.
Okay.
Not Keegan-Michael Key.
I think you're answering your own question, which is they're doing their own thing with this, and it's
can hit high pitches, yes, but he sounds like a high-pitched adult. He doesn't sound like a kid.
But that's why he's a voice actor.
I mean,
but Bumblebee's not supposed to be a kid. He's the Transformers are all kind of adult as soon as they're made anyway. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
I think he's a fine.
No, it doesn't really matter.
But we've got John Hamm playing Sentinel Prime and Lawrence Fishburne playing Alpha Trion. So that's pretty cool. I think Lawrence Fishburne is a good choice for Alpha Trion. Is supposed to be like he's like Optimus Prime's mentor, basically.
Papa Prime.
And Sentinel
Prime
Prime is different in every fucking.
What better actor to get for a mentor than fucking Morpheus, man?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, honestly, the only one of these that I'm really skeptical about is Chris Hemsworth. So the rest of them all sound like good casting, or characters that can kind of be whatever.
It's easy to forget that Chris Hemsworth has an unusual, like, it doesn't seem like it because he's such a big dude, but like he has a deep voice. He has just a natural. He does have a deep voice, not movie theater deep, but like it's just a very low register. I feel like it wouldn't take much for him to get to a convincing Optimus.
True. It just, I mean, since it's a film, I think a lot of people were holding out hope that they would just do Peter Cullen, but again, if you're doing a younger Optimus Prime, then I don't know how that would play.
Everything you've just conveyed to me about this movie tells me that they are trying to do something very different from what's come before.
For sure.
We'll
see. Yeah. I don't. It's not supposed to be set in any continuity or anything like that. They can do whatever. It's just sort of like a
It's Transformers
it's sort of like
jazz.
if they're doing an adaptation of like an Optimus Prime origin story, it would be cool to see an adaptation of like the original origin story rather than like something whole cloth new. But I don't know. We'll see. We haven't really seen much about it other than that. But I don't know. I mean, some good actors there. I was kind of a little immediately struck by the sort of Marvel-esque cast of like a bunch of the main characters there.
The modern slate of new movie stars is Marvel actors. A lot of people like to say like movie stars don't exist anymore. I'm like, they do. They're just all from a franchise you hate. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was not my choice. I didn't do that.
And speaking of Marvel, we also got a teaser trailer for the Marvels in April.
I like
that. Looks interesting. I don't have anything else really to say about it.
We also got Guardians. We got Guardians 3.
Yeah, don't talk about it. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
Let's see. What else? Okay, I got a couple Lego news. Colin, this one would be of interest to you. You remember how they did that Lego Ideas Sonic the Hedgehog set a while ago?
Yeah.
Well, now they're making a full line of Lego Sonic sets.
Interesting.
Like, not Lego Ideas, just like, you know. Yeah, and it seems to have like a focus on like play features of like you put Sonic in a little ball,
and then you launch it, and he goes around.
Makes it look like you launch it, and it goes around a track and shit like that. Yeah, so that looks kind of cool.
So it's Lego Hot Wheels.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
This
two great tastes that taste great together.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is no like fucking huge news or anything, but it was something that I was really excited about when we got the reveal for it. Lego also announced a new in-house theme that they're doing called Lego Dreamzzz with like 3 Z's because it's like sleeping. I get it. But it just looks really cool. It's a lot of fucking like wacky, I don't know, like dream world stuff that I think looks really interesting. Like one set that I'm really excited about is it's like a fucking like, it's basically like a fucking VW van, but it's got a turtle head sticking out of the front of it and turtle legs sticking out of it, so it's just a turtle van, and it's really fucking cute. And I don't know, I haven't seen a new set like a new like fucking Lego theme announced in a while where I like looked through all the sets and I'm like, fuck.
When you say it, my brain just goes to like sleep medication, and I'm like, how is this toys gonna put you to sleep when you have to pay attention to build it? And I'm like, do they make a particularly calming sound when they clink together? I don't. And then you said a turtle car with legs, and I'm just like, this is a very different direction than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's like, is that what you dream about? Stuff,
like,
I don't dream like that.
Well, you need more imagination, Colin.
I'm always getting chased, but not by.
I mean, I've had some very weird dreams, so
yeah,
you know, that wouldn't register as particularly weird.
Turtle Van to me feels like something a movie writer would write about a dream, and not like a dream I've ever had before.
Oh yeah, it's very like Shark Boy and Lava Girl logic in terms of dream stuff, not like kid dream stuff, not like real dream stuff. Like,
yeah, we real dreams. Fuck you, kids. Your dreams aren't real. We're adults. We gatekeep that shit.
We dream about taxes.
I have anxieties, and this is the only way I can express them.
I had a recent dream where I met Mel Brooks, and it's like
Mel Brook. There is actually a Lego set of Mel Brook in this theme. There's not.
Huh.
Where's the last S? Where's the S at the end of my name?
Mel Brooks. Sorry.
Yeah, Mel Brooks.
Sorry, Mel Brooks.
It strikes me as weird that I had that dream because, like, I wasn't thinking about Mel Brooks. I wasn't thinking about any of his movies recently. Like, I like him well enough. I like his stuff.
I mean, that happens.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just like fucking have dreams where I'm like interacting with like a person from high school that I literally have not thought about in a decade.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like kind of like remembering my dream and it'll be like, where did that come from?
Here's the thing. I feel like bodies do that with stuff that aren't dreams as well. Cause like there have been times like I ate a salad and then I burped. I'm like, that tasted like a hot dog, and I haven't had hot dogs in weeks.
It's just a glitch in the Matrix.
Anyway, sorry to put a hard stop to that conversation.
Lord Fishburne, save us!
Anyway, there's not much else to say about it. It's just something that I've been kind of excited about, and that's cool. That's pretty much all I got for this month. Nothing like really that groundbreaking. Just some kind of interesting developments with those Transformers things, which
Unicron
will be more newsworthy when they actually come out. Yeah, true. He breaks a lot of ground. Eats that shit right up. Yeah.
You're welcome for that nugget. Chatter, how you doing, bud? What do you got for us?
Show me what you got.
Honestly, I actually didn't have a whole lot of interesting news when I was going through Discord. I guess I could talk about like Wizards of the Coast like calling down the Pinkertons on a YouTuber just because he got
right. I forgot
some
about that.
magic cards early. I guess I could talk about Monster Energy
shit lately.
Yeah, I guess I could talk about Monster Energy going after like Capcom as well as the Pokemon Company over the use of the word monster.
Oh my god!
Like Monster Energy.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah. But really, what I mostly want to talk about is just the games I've been playing recently, because I feel like. No, unfortunately, no, because last chapter was more just set up for more stuff. So maybe this month we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about in JoJo. But for now, it's like because like I think a lot of great games have been coming this year, and like I'm like having trouble like going, how do I hold all these games?
Yep,
help me, because
the citrus
like,
tree giveth.
Yeah, like I like or maybe it's just the kind of games I like, but like first like came like River City Girls 2, which is just a very fun like old school beat 'em up. But then like Octopath Traveler 2 came out, and I'm like, oh well, I can come back to that later. Let's play some Octopath. And then like the Advance Wars reboot came out soon after, and I'm like juggling those two games at the same time, and now Tears of the Kingdom is out, and I'm like, that's going to consume everything. And,
I have had to put so much effort into, like, everyone says, don't start X until you finish Y. That's the easy answer. It's really hard to get yourself to that point, especially with this year and last year, like really crowded, front-loaded years in terms of releases for games after the COVID lockdown fucked everything up. And it's just like, I bought Dead Space like a couple days after it came out because I was like, I actually like this version of Dead Space. And then I was like, I'll beat this before Jedi Survivor comes out. And then Jedi Survivor came out. I'm like, how much time? I put 3 hours into Dead Space in the last month? So I bought Jedi and broke my own rule, but I didn't really play it until I went. But it's so, unless you are really exercising some discipline, you're just going to drown. That's it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I remember like I was like going, oh man, Resident Evil 4 remake. I want to play that. No, don't.
Yep.
You're just not going to be able to play it.
Yep. It's apparently excellent too, so you might have saved yourself some time.
Yeah, and then like Street Fighter 6 is coming out next month, so like the next Mortal Kombat is coming out sometime this year. Just lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a good problem to have, I think. Octopath Traveler 2. To anyone who likes like old school JRPGs, it's really freaking good because it's just like it's got this sort of gorgeous like style that's like it's like pixel art, like very detailed pixel art, but it's done in like this sort of diorama style, so you get this kind of 3D effect from it, which is like
there's like a parallax and stuff. It's like Mario Paper or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something akin to that. It's like it's very good, and like it's fun to take your time, not because just to like admire the artistry, because like they really brought their A game to it, and solid characters, fantastic music, just very good.
That makes those kinds of games make the problem you've described worse, because you're like, all right, if I just beat this game, then I can go on to the next. It's like, well, no, the point isn't to beat the game. It is to experience it and to spend time in it and to consider it. Yeah. And like, there are some games where like,
exactly.
Give me a Sonic game. I'm like, boom, boom. I beat it. Awesome. And I can go back and replay it if I want. But like, yeah, it is very frustrating. I went through this whole kick of games and the last year into this one before my schedule got a million times busier, where I was like, I'm just going to play Citizen Sleeper and sit here for like 10 minutes trying to figure out if I want to buy this fucking mushroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think that's a valuable experience to have in a game, and it sucks when you feel like you're under the gun.
Yeah, exactly. Like Octopath Traveler 2 is very much like that because like there are these mechanics where like you can just read like a little blurb about every single NPC in the game, like just some random dude or random merchant on the street. Hey, he's got a little story about like, hey, how he got separated from his wife. Like, is it important? No, but it gives this world a lot of texture, and that's awesome. Which is great because, Square Enix, the company that like makes Octopath Traveler 2 has really just been fucking it up with Final Fantasy, which is like, you're doing it right there. Why can't you do that, man?
Different studios.
Yeah, well, I mean, the interesting thing about Octopath Traveler 2, and really, what the studio that makes the Octopath Traveler games as well as the Bravely Default games, is that there are a lot of like veteran like Square developers, like back from like when Square wasn't
Square Enix.
Merged with Enix. Yeah, exactly. Advance Wars Reboot finally came out, and it's like, it's solid. I mean, like the original games were fantastic, so long as you didn't fuck up something, it was bound to be good. But like, I guess the only real complaint I have is just that they did what they had to, and not much else. There's like they did like remade the graphics, so that's all like 3D cell shading, and it's like, it's fine. I think the original pixel art had a lot more character to it, but it's not like it's bad. So
I have something. Metroid Prime Remastered was literally just like mechanically identical, structurally identical, just a graphics overhaul and performance update, and it's just like. I mean, it's such a good game that it works and it's fine. But like Dead Space, the remake, it was a remake and not a remaster. And I remember hearing some stuff about Advance Wars 1 and 2, like maybe should have taken the Dead Space approach and not the Metroid approach to update things a little bit, because it is a 20-year-old game. Dead Space is only 15 years old, and like the change in game feel was enough to get me on board finally. For something 20 years old, I could imagine like, oh, this genre has come a long way in the last 20 years. Maybe spruce it up a bit, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about this genre is it doesn't have like a lot in the sea. It's just like Fire Emblem and like a bunch of indie guys who like those kind of games, like or in the case of what was it? I forgot their name, but like the game's name, but like there's this game that like basically is like, what if Advance Wars hers, but like in a fantasy setting, and it's like, it's pretty good, but yeah. So, getting to go back to Advance Wars is just nice. And like, I guess the one thing that they really should have had is like some sort of like online multiplayer, but it's not there. So, so it's like,
bummer.
That seems like a weird thing to not have in there, because really. like the original Game Boy Advance games couldn't have online multiplayer because it's the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, how many people are using the Advance cable to connect their Switches to each other? Not many, I think.
Exactly.
I have one of those around here somewhere. I gotta throw that out or sell it.
And last but not least, let's talk about Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, because that is the thing that's been consuming my every thought right now. Because
I have two sentences that I would like to say, and then I will clear the runway for you if that is okay.
Yeah, sure.
The Breath of the Wild seemed like Kid Skyrim, and I didn't know that it was going to be what it was until I played it. And I was like, this is weirdly magical. In the first 4 hours of Tears of the Kingdom, they have convinced me that that magical game, the highest rated game of all time, was a rough draft.
Yeah, no, that is accurate to how I was feeling, because like when I first played Breath of the Wild, I'm like, this is it. This is the Zelda game I've always dreamed about. And then I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. I'm like, Breath of the Wild was kind of mid. Yeah. This is the Zelda game I've always dreamed about.
Like I said, I'm real hit and miss in Zelda. I feel like the Zelda games that don't work for me are the ones that you can feel the structure. Zelda has always, I think my favorite term I heard describing Zelda was that it's like deceptively rigid. People are like, you can do anything in Zelda. I'm like, I'm bumping into walls everywhere. At least Metroid is honest that I can't go this fucking way. And I think the Zelda games that work are the ones that lean into either making those boundaries exciting or giving you a lot more freedom. And I did not expect to like Breath of the Wild, but it was magical. And this is just like, hey, what if we filled that in with some of the most absurdly generous sandbox shit you can imagine? Go nuts. We don't care. Go absolutely wild.
No, it's ridiculous because Breath of the Wild, you're exploring the land of Hyrule, fun stuff, and then Tears of the Kingdom is like, hey man, you're exploring the land of Hyrule and this whole other sky country thing where the sky country alone would have been its own game in any other any other company, and Hyrule, the land of Hyrule would have been its own game too, and then they're like, oh, by the way, there's this whole underground area that's again, country-sized. The whole underground area could be its own damn game. It's ridiculous.
There is, Jason Schreier was like, every single ability you get in this game could be the core mechanic of its own video game. And instead what they did is they packaged them all together and gave you a giant world where they all work all the time. It is the scope of that on an engineering and design level is absurd when you play the game and realize that it feels effortless.
Yeah,
it is truly unique.
I've seen people use the Ultra Hand ability to build some of the most batshit insane stuff from fucking bomber planes to tanks to giant wooden men with flaming cocks. It's ridiculous.
That GIF is looping on my display right now. I'm looking at it as we're talking. I just got out of the tutorial area. That's all I've gotten, and there were so many moments where something happened in the game, or I could feel the rails trying to teach me the mechanics. Ultra Hand is where you combine stuff, glue it together, and when it's teaching you this, it feels kind of like you're walking into a workshop where someone has laid all your tools out on the table. So it basically says, this is how this works. And then you look at all the ingredients in front of you and your brain is like, wait, hold on. I can do this. And in most things in real life, when you look at something, you're like, oh, this makes sense. I can do this. That's intuitive. It is so weird to play games which are famously so finicky because they are difficult to make and just have the entire world be that platter where you're like, I see these ingredients. Right. Can I combine them? Jeff, it's like Minecraft in a way, where Minecraft is it's
searching his Rolodex.
No, this occurred to me. I thought of you while I was playing the game. And Chowder, I know you play Minecraft too, so Feel free to jump in or tell me I'm wrong, but like Minecraft, the magic of Minecraft when it came out was like you can do anything. You can build anything, you can do anything. And I think what Minecraft, despite its enormous success, has always lacked is a compelling drive, a compelling motivation. You have hooks that you can choose to latch onto, but it is not a guided experience. It is inherently a canvas with some structures and systems within it to support like your own story. This is clearly not as robust as Minecraft in terms of interoperability between certain systems, but it is that same ethos of go anywhere, do anything with this tool set, but in the structure of a game that has forward momentum, goals, quests, rewards, and it's like focused Minecraft. And it feels like so new in a weird way.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? With Breath of the Wild, it's like one of the remarkable things it does is just like be like, hey, you see that center point? That's where the final bad guy is. You can go there anytime you want and like fight him. But like, keyword is anytime you want. You can like prepare as much as you want till then. And it's like the story of Breath of the Wild is very much an excuse plot. They do some stuff to like give it a good sense of mood, but here the plot is definitely it's more involved, and with Tears of the Kingdom it's more involved, and like interestingly there is more of a sense of structure in this game, because like one of the weak points of Breath of the Wild was that like puzzles or dungeons were kind of like very basic, and like weren't really up to the standard of like what Zelda puzzles and Zelda dungeons were before. Tears of the Kingdom is like, nah, you get the best of both worlds. You get the open-endedness of Breath of the Wild, and also the intricate, tightly designed dungeons and puzzles of like Skyward Sword or Ocarina of Time or whatever.
It feels like they took Breath of the Wild and filled it in. Like you don't realize how empty Breath of the Wild is until you like go back to it. When you don't have that sense of wonder at the freedom and the scale and just the serenity of the game, which some people don't have that to begin with. That's fine. But like if those scales fall from your eyes, you can see like there are big swaths of nothing, and sometimes the stuff to do is pretty scant or slight. And so far, this feels like they said, let's take the game, double its size, and make it like 3 times as dense. And I'm just like, jeez.
More like triple its size, really. Again, 3 different.
Well, the above ground and below ground are not quite as like full as Hyrule. So I don't know. I'm sure someone will do the math.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's really good.
Yeah, no.
It really
good. Is. Yeah.
I'm waiting for Rebecca to be done with it so I can get my hands on it and play some more.
Yeah. No, like, I've had all these, like, eureka moments from, like, having to, like, figure out whatever puzzle.
Stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, there's this one Korok puzzle where it's like, hey, there's this Korok on one side of a river and a Korok up like this like hill on the other side of the river.
The log people, and they're like, I can't get to my friend because I'm tired and my backpack is big. Can you bring me over there?
Yeah, exactly, right? And like, I'm like, but the river's too strong. And how do I get this boat to the other side? And it's like, and I see like a giant like plank of wood, and like suddenly the gears turn in my head. Mm-hmm. Wait, if I fuse this wood with my sword, I create a giant fan that I can use to blow the boat to the other side.
Yeah,
I'm a genius.
It's like the game encourages free association and doesn't punish you with crippling logic. It's like, if you stick these together, it's a fan. But what about the weight of the... No. What about the balance of... No, shush. It's just a fan. Don't think about it any more than that.
That kind of reminds me of like how you do shit in Machinarium, Where it's
very much just like
you combine all the items and it's just like that doesn't make any goddamn sense, but it is what I thought of.
Yeah, just very superficial logic. The thing is, though, it's applied so consistently and performs and responds so consistently that it doesn't become a thing that it's like Minecraft. At some point, you stop paying attention to the fact that water doesn't work in source blocks. There isn't a small piece of water that's infinite, and then the rest of it just happens. That's not how it works, but like it's consistent in Minecraft. You can understand those rule sets, and that's how this shit applies, and it works. It works great.
Yeah, I love thinking about that shit with Minecraft. Of just like, if you were actually like if you were Steve and you lived in this world, it's just like, there's just things about Minecraft that it's like, gravity just doesn't work the same way. There's no fucking.
I will take the bottom part of the tree, and the rest is up there.
Yeah, there's no conservation of matter at all. No, there are some things that are unlimited and other things that aren't. That you could just lose forever.
Mm-hmm. But again, like it's one of those things where I think Minecraft falls on the finicky side of things just due to its scope and the number of interactions you can have. With Zelda, I mean, there are like a max of 8 powers or so. But again,
something like that.
To Chowder's point, it's just it is tightly designed, but also gives you a sense of freedom. And it's like, to me, it's what Zelda has always been missing for me. Is it like either commit to the rigidity or commit to the freedom? And this commits to the freedom in a big way. Like, I don't know how you design a game that gives you so much latitude, because you're like, hey, I want a player to have to climb this mountain, but you gave me a button that lets me swim up through the mountain. Oh, okay. So I guess me building a literal mountain isn't an obstacle anymore because we gave you a button press that fixes it. It's just like again, it seems effortless, but when you really stop to think about it, it's like, how do you build that? You know?
Yeah, right.
It's fun. Yeah. It's cool.
It's hard to strike a balance between having it be too easy, but also having it be open-ended enough. You can actually think of solutions to things creatively.
And Chatter, like, does it hit you the same way where it's just like part of it? Because I know you tend to play more games than Jeff does also, like, for me, a lot of this doesn't just feel like it works in this game, but like in the context of all games never give you this kind of freedom. Like, that's part of the magic here is you're like, I didn't think I could do it, but I didn't think the developer would let me do it. Like, is that a weird thought? Am I alone in that?
No, exactly. Just like this, like the magic of this game is just that, like, you can do things in your own way, and that's not like some marketing tagline. There's truth in that. Like again, like there's this one puzzle in Tears of the Kingdom that involves like attaching wheels to things so that like they move to the other side.
I've just gotten to the first wheels in the game, so don't spoil the details for me.
Yeah, I mean, this one puzzle I'm like looking at, I'm like, I don't get what the developers want me to do here. But I have a solution, and I'm very certain the devs didn't want me to do it that way. And it let me do it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Huh. I mean, I don't know if the devs knew or not, but
I had a bit of my consideration of what the developers intended got even more fucked out when I hit a point early game where I'm like, I'm on a timer because it's cold and I'm dying and I only have so long before my resistance wears off. And I have to get up this mountain, and I'm like, I don't have this tool yet. I can't get up there. The river's going down. There's no way to reverse it. I'm just like, I cannot, in the amount of time I have, scale this mountain or get up there. And then I just, after like 20 minutes of like getting kind of angry, I just said, fuck it, I'm brute forcing it. I chopped down like 8 trees and I built a gigantic log, and I just slowly climbed the fucking log to get up it. And I'm like, haha, stupid developers. You didn't think I was going to do that. I've seen at least 3 videos of other people doing the exact same thing in the exact same spot. And I'm like, oh, you manipulated the shit out of me. Oh, you bastards. Like, you do it. You do it the whole time.
You made me.
Oh, yeah, no. We say that there's a sense of freedom.
Original thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. We say there's a sense of freedom, but the key word here is sense.
Yeah.
The devs probably saw it coming from a mile away, and it's like...
That's what's crazy, though, is it feels so big, and it's, they had to consider it, and they had to design around these things, and yet, again, it feels so natural, and I'm like, how do you just do that? Again, to Chatter's point, they had 6 years. They probably had time to flesh it out.
Good shit.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really good.
Definitely.
Really
and, like, an answer to how do you do that is Zelda games are iterative. Like, like Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom is obvious, but like even from say Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild, or Ocarina of Time to Wind Waker to Twilight Princess to whatever, it's like Zelda games build upon each other. Like, for example, the mechanic of like sprinting and climbing that actually started in Skyward Sword. It was a little more basic there, but like you see the DNA of that blossom into what it is in Breath of the Wild, or like the inventory wheel that just like makes like going through your powers or items very convenient. Again, something that started in Skyward Sword, which is like, I don't know, kind of interesting, and like kind of probably helps the devs like
Skyward Sword. Okay. I've not played it or the remaster, but even though that game didn't receive a lot of love on its own, it seems like it introduced a lot of things, both for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that are pretty crucial to what they are now. So
yeah, it has a mixed reception. Like like for most people, it is like one of the worst Zelda games and like for me, it's like I have a soft spot for it. Yeah. I quite like it. And and maybe like benefit of hindsight, but like the fact that it's more linear doesn't
maybe I'll like
ring that to me, because the fact that it's more linear, it doesn't really annoy me that much, probably because I know that like the next game is so open-ended, and it's like, oh, this is just a little detour, and then I can have the freedom, the pie of freedom.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like I do not like Ocarina of Time, which before Breath of the Wild was considered the best 3D Zelda game, best game of all time sort of deal. I straight up don't enjoy it. I can't have fun with it, and that doesn't stop me from like appreciating what it did for 3D games and what it did for Zelda in particular. And so honestly, at this point, I like that this is where it's led us, that it has moved into the sense of freedom, because I think what people loved about Ocarina of Time was the sense of freedom. But for me, maybe it's because I came to it a little later in life, but I was like, by the time I got there, I'm like, all I can see are the barriers. All I can see are the things slowing me down and stopping me from doing the things I want to do. And this game feels like they just said none of that bullshit. Yeah. Absolutely none. It's good. Anyway, I think we've gushed enough. Let's wrap this up so I can go make dinner. Yeah. If we could get into the crowd on into this editor's room here, let's have a look and see if we can figure out what is the top story of this past month and a half. Oops. Of all the stories that we mentioned today, if we're going to have other people take something away and integrate into their lives, what should it be? Tears of the Kingdom. Sorry, what should it be?
Does that count, or are we limiting to April?
If we're limiting to April, Picard was good. Picard was pretty good. Well, because the other thing I have in April is that really games. The other thing I have for April is that games sucked. I don't want that to be the story.
Was the writer's strike in May? Because then it doesn't qualify, does it?
Yeah. The writer's strike.
That to me is more industrious than Geek News. So I wouldn't throw that up as it is so much more all encompassing. Geek News is but a small part of the writer's strike. Not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, we can give it to Zelda if we don't have anything interesting from April, because I don't know if any of the stories from April are really that.
Yeah, that's
noteworthy.
Well, because the Activision blocking thing happened in April, but then we got the follow up on that today.
Octopath Traveler 2 and Advance Wars Reboot Camp was April, but that's
and the games I mentioned, Jedi Survivor and Redfall Survivor are April releases, but again, I think the takeaway from those is that there's a downturn in the industry, and I feel like that's a thing to keep an eye on. But I mean, if you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, I would recommend that you try it, and if that kind of open-ended gameplay doesn't work for you, I will take your extra copy so I can play it while Rebecca also plays it, because I'm getting annoyed. I want to play the game. I bought it for her, and now I'm cranky that I don't get to play it. Oh, man. But yeah, no, I full-throated. You can go ahead, Jeff. I was trying to get out of the way so you could...
Zelda.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
My vote goes to Zelda.
Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, the Transformers things are interesting, but they're kind of like...
Yeah.
They're not quite a story yet. They're like story of a story, you know?
The Picard finale, I think, is like it's a nice cap to what it is, but whether or not it leads to # Star Trek Legacy. The thing is, last time this happened with Discovery, they were like, "Can we get a Captain Pike show?" And it's like, I don't know. And after a couple years of I don't know, they were like, "Okay, here's your Captain Pike show," and it took a long ass time. Yeah. And the thing is, they canceled Discovery, and I think part of the calculus on top of just TV stuff in general right now is, well, if we're going to do a show that costs this much money, let's make it a show that people really like. And
yeah.
So if Legacy becomes a thing, I think
it'll start making it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
yeah.
Who the fuck knows? And now we're going to the writer's strike will probably prevent any serious negotiations on that front. So who knows how long it's going to be, whatever. I got Strange New Worlds coming next month, and I think that'll be fun. So that does it for us. After a long-winded conversation, if you haven't picked up Tears of the Kingdom, try it out. You might like it, and it might make you feel smarter than you are. We could all use a little bit of that, I think. I have been Colin Ketchen. You can find ColinKetchen.com. That's got all my links to my stuff. I haven't updated it in a while because it's evergreen, so that you can see what I do there. I'm very hungry. I'm so sorry. Who are you, and where can we find you guys?
I am Jeff. You can find me on 2 different Instagram accounts. One of art, that is things I wish existed. There's a dot between each word, and then toys.n.art. That's where I post toy-related stuff. I also have a YouTube channel where I do... Yeah, it's just the easy thing to. It was what worked when I was, trying to come up with a username that didn't already exist.
You didn't put like XXLOL at the edge of everything, like usernames in the late aughts.
There's no. Yeah, and I've got a YouTube channel where I do toy reviews. That is Alchemist Prime Reviews on YouTube, and that's me. Those are the places you can find me doing my stupid little things.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Timul, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter at Timul_Chowder. I do art stuff there. You can also find me on our sister podcast, Dice Populi, where
it's wrapping up.
It's wrapping up slowly but surely. And also, I think it's very good.
Gave you guys.
Check that out.
I tried to give you guys Tears of the Kingdom freedom, when really what you needed was Ocarina of Time freedom. Oops.
Exactly.
No, it's fun. So you can check all of those things out if you want to follow those links. But that is it for now. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk about the rest of May and maybe a little bit of June. Hopefully something more fun than depressing game downturns and the like will happen, and we'll get another Zelda on our hands. But until then,
Street Fighter 6 is going to probably be very good. So unless Capcom fucks it up hard, which they've definitely done that before,
they're capable of it.
All right,
they are capable of it, but it doesn't look like it. So
we will see. All right, have a good one, everybody. Bye for now.
See ya.
Ciao. Fuck you. I'll do it if you don't.